Coming up this week on the Nintendo Directors Podcast, the Switch takes back the top spot in the monthly console sales numbers, Sonic is back in classic form, SNES Classic Pre-orders come and go, and more.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Brad.
We're two middle school band directors.
And you're listening to
Nintendo Directors. Hello, and welcome to episode number 3003 of the Nintendo Directors Podcast. It is August 22nd of 2017. And I'm Mark.
And I'm Brad. Welcome.
And just a quick reminder that we are an every other week, not a bi-weekly, to confuse people who know the multiple definitions of that. We're an every other week podcast. Look for us on Thursdays at 9 a.m. and look for us in multiple places now.
Tell us the places, Mark.
Well, we are now... we're now on Google Play, if people want to get us there. We're also on iTunes, which I think makes us a legitimate podcast, finally.
I think so.
We're no longer illegitimate. But so we're also, there was one other place. What was the other place?
Stitcher. Well, we're not officially there yet, but we're waiting on approval. That should come in within a day or two.
Yeah. And then, as always, you can find us on our website at the Podomatic. So,
Podcastomatic, yep.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we're out there now, many places.
All right. So since we're on the topic though, if you want to consume this podcast, I know most people that have been listening to this up to now probably just been going through the Podcastomatic site. But if you are a person who is now going to be transitioning to one of those other services, iTunes or whatnot, we would appreciate it very much if you would go on there and write us just a quick review. It helps gain visibility for the show and for more people to be able to experience the Nintendo Directors Podcast. So we'd appreciate it if you go for that.
Unless you're going to say bad things.
Well, yes.
Although maybe
you could say constructive things. You know.
Yeah. Well, maybe we become the most trashed podcast out there, and maybe that's how we gain fame.
Yeah, there you go. A Guinness Book of World Record.
We'll be the emoji movie of podcasts.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Oh man, what a bad idea. Seriously.
Bad idea. That's a poop emoji for my rating. So, all right. Well,
if you didn't know, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
My bad. If you didn't know, of course, we are the Nintendo Directors Podcast, and we're here every other week, like Mark said, and we are just two Nintendo enthusiasts, and we happen to be middle school, high school band directors, and we love music, we love Nintendo, and this is just a great way for us to stop, bugging all of our friends and family members who don't actually care about Nintendo, and we can have a way to talk about these kind of things. So we got a great show for you.
Yeah, and I also want to make one disclaimer, being that we're band directors. If you're aware of what time of year it is, it's marching band time, and it's like band camp time. So
right.
If I say anything stupid, it's because I haven't slept in a long time, or at least slept well in a long time. So lots of work right now, but not as much play as I would like. But that's the seasons of life. All right,
that's good stuff.
Yeah. So moving on now to the news, and the news. Go ahead, Brad.
The news this week is brought to you by Google.
Yeah.
Google doesn't know this, but Google is sponsoring.
Well,
Google can send the check to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes. Yep. There's well, technically it is brought to you by Google because we use
this is
Google.
True.
So, all right, the news.
All right, so lots of actually, it was looking like it was going to be a pretty slow week for 2 weeks, I guess, for news, and then the last day or so, there's been a couple stories that kind of came out that kind of padded it out a little bit. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Splatoon 2, and and the Switch in general. Just some more sales numbers came out recently, and so it's showing that Splatoon 2, and it's obviously it only recently came out, sold over 1 million, and is the best-selling game of July. And then on top of that, the Switch finally returned to the top of the NPD in terms of sales over that. I know there was a month or so, I think, where PS4 came back and topped that. But yeah, now it's back up on top. Now, personally, I think that might have more to do with just, again, the constant supply issues that Switch has been dealing with. I think if they were readily available, it would be crushing it. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, how about Splatoon 2? I think it's pretty impressive numbers, at least out of the gate for
absolutely.
What do we got? Almost a little over 4.5 million Switches out there, so that's a pretty darn good attach rate.
Yeah, that's really good attach rate, and that is on my Christmas list, which Christmas for me is the day after marching season is done, because I'll have time to play more games. So I'll be getting that game. So it'll be 1,000,001 at least come November. But yeah, that's great numbers, which it has me is confirmed that that's at the top of my list to get because of the fact that I should be able to play with people, readily available crowds of people to play with. So yeah. And the next Splatfest was announced, and it's superpowers, flying or invisibility, which you go with invisibility. I mean, don't you?
Are you sure? No, I completely disagree. Flying is way more important. I mean,
flying is my dream. It would be awesome. But invisibility, I mean,
what can you do? What can you actually do with that?
Well,
other than steal donuts off the tray, when no one's looking.
Yeah, I was just you actually beat me to it, donuts, and but not enough to be hurtful to anyone, any local business, just a little bit here and a little there, enough to
just a little bit of treason, or a little bit of.
I mean. But
I think that should be our title for this episode. Just a little bit of treason.
Yeah.
A little bit.
a little crime, and it's fine. A little theft. It'll be fine. So, but you're invisible, so they'll never catch you. But no, that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see how that plays. I'm guessing flying will win out, but invisibility is a pretty cool power.
I agree.
So
now there's been talk after the last couple of Splatfests about obviously with the ketchup and mayo, ketchup was significantly more popular, and yet mayo just kind of wiped the floor with with the ketchup people, and so people were suspecting. Well, I think it was even on the Nintendo Dads podcast I was listening to last week. They were talking about how the one that would they have a theory anyway that the one that would be more popular with kids would be the one that would be more chosen.
Oh,
but it would be the adults who would
they're
play better,
right? So they're not even choosing their favorite; they're just kind of metagaming it, where am I going to go to win,
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So it'd be interesting to see. Okay, I'm just trying to picture if that's the case, would a kid be more interested in flying or invisibility? I'm guessing flying. But.
Yeah. So go with invisibility and start winning.
Right. There you go.
Don't get good; just get with the good. So.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think that Splatfest is until next weekend.
I thought I saw. Yeah, it was a week or two away.
Maybe, or Labor Day weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, it'd be before that. The first, second, I think something like that.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next in the news, we got Sonic Mania, which is the best reviewed Sonic game in 15 years, which is exciting, but also I don't know if that's really saying anything. But
not saying a whole lot. Now, hey, before I give my thoughts on this, I'm curious. What is your background, Mark, with Sonic games? Did you play any of them? Were you a Genesis kid?
I was 1,000% anti-Sega Genesis. As a kid, I was. I mean, there was a clear line drawn in the playground when I was growing up, and it was
I see.
Transformers, He-Man. Godzilla, King Kong, and then Nintendo, Sega, and it. Obviously I chose right on all of those. It's Godzilla, Transformers, and Nintendo, but yeah, no. So I didn't get into Sonic until well after the fact, and actually, for those if anybody knows, I play in a video game cover band called Playing with Power. That's all of our bumper music is taken from that. And I started getting into Sonic after one of our guitar players was like, we need to play music from Sonic, and so I started really checking them out, and yeah, so I always thought Sonic looked cool, but I wasn't willing to admit it as a child because
console wars,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. But now I'm okay with Sonic. I think the last 15 years, you know, there's been a lot of misses, but a couple hits. But no,
Mostly misses.
Yeah, mostly misses. but no, the earlier stuff I've gone back and played quite a bit of it, and it's really fun, really good stuff, good platforming.
So yeah, I think this is awesome in that it's really okay. And again, I guess this goes somewhat into what we've been playing, because I did pick it up when Sonic Mania came out, and I've been playing it, and it's super fun. As somebody who actually was a Genesis kid, and I will say I was totally okay. So I didn't really get into. I mean, I played a lot of games when I was a kid, but I didn't swear any allegiances, or I think the reason I got a Sega Genesis was because that was the one I heard about, and I didn't have I had one friend I think who had a Super NES or something.
So you were swayed by blast processing, is what you're saying.
That and my mother's decision to go to Walmart, and this is what was on the shelf.
Okay,
I was kind of one of those kids. So yeah, I guess so. But we had a Genesis, and I had all the Sonic game. Well, all the decent ones, 1, 2, 3,
yep,
and Sonic and Knuckles. And I had a great. I almost said I had a blast, and then I was like,
blast process.
Oh, so clever. Okay, so I had a great time playing with those, and I thought they had a lot of great elements. One Sonic 1 was a little bit weak, I think, but 2 and 3 were just rock solid.
Yeah.
And just a ton of fun.
2 was my favorite.
So yeah, 2 is great. And so after so many years since then of Sonic game after Sonic game after Sonic game just being disappointment over and over again, this is having Sonic Mania come out and just be this excellent is just really cool. And I'll get into more of why I really like it when we get down to what we've been playing. But I'll just say it is probably one of, if not the best Sonic game that I've played.
That's awesome. The aesthetic looks great. I've seen a couple videos, and it is. Again, I'll probably be getting that around Christmas time, aka November 1st. So
for sure.
All right, and next we've got the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Pre-orders are live,
gone.
And they're gone.
All gone. Just done.
Just done. Next, no.
Okay,
yeah.
no, we have to talk about this.
We
my
do.
friend, because
there are a lot of tears out there.
So frustrating. It's just. Okay,
and yet,
I don't even know.
And yet so predictable, but
I honestly don't even know why I want the Super NES Classic. I don't really.
Yeah,
I really
do, but I don't.
I do, but I don't. I want these games on my Switch. That's where I want them.
Yeah.
But the collection is so all-encompassing and it looks so cool. I probably, if I actually got a Super NES Classic, I would play it for a little bit and then it would sit on my shelf for a long time.
It would look cool.
As opposed to having them on my Switch and actually playing them. But man, it's just so frustrating because Nintendo can promise up and down that they've made more, and it actually, from the reports that I heard, it ended up being basically almost like I predicted. Like it was on one side, and it was they were up for maybe 25 minutes or 30 instead of 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where did it go? It went live on Best Buy at first. And
I think it was Best Buy first.
And
yep,
that was
and
the
Amazon.
middle of the night,
And that's the worst thing. Oh, so. I mean.
Yep.
I guess it's totally my fault for going to bed before 2 a.m.
Right.
Clearly, I'm in the wrong here.
I know. I think that was so they didn't have to have their site crash, but.
I'm sure that's what it was,
yep.
but it's
infuriating.
It's still just absolutely,
yep.
And I will go on record as saying I am a ginormous Nintendo fan. I love what they do.
Yep.
But I don't love all the things they do,
Right.
And sometimes, it just, and I'm not saying anything new. Every
yep.
every person who's ever talked from the NES Classic to the Amiibo to everything is just it's a frustrating trend. But it is what it is. And so, of course, there's spam, not spammers. What's the word I'm looking for? Scammer. No, scalpers. Thank you.
Yep.
That use these bots to get
Oh yeah.
8 or 10 or 100 or more of them, and no wonder they're gone instantly.
Well, I mean, you can still get one. Just have $300 available, and buy it on eBay.
And just as, if not more egregious, was 10 minutes after the pre-orders were closed, GameStop has these $300, $400 bundle deals with just the most stupid crap just to go along with it. Just really, and even the stuff that they had that was kind of cool. There's like that Triforce lamp, which is kind of neat.
Yep.
But I'm not paying $200-$300 just so I can have that
for
and
some illumination in your room. Like
exactly.
I can. Yeah.
It's just there's not really a good solution for it right now, unless Nintendo just makes more things.
And
I know
that is the good solution for it.
Right.
But it's not going to happen.
Make more things, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly thinking about like lining up on September 29th, but I'm like, do I really want to?
Is
it?
I think you'd have to at this point. I think you'd have to probably call into work and be there the 28th as well.
Oh,
like
right.
Minimal, like a day in advance. So, not worth it.
So I guess that leads kind of into the next story a little bit.
Yeah.
For those of us who are stuck without one, there's a consolation prize of sorts. Nintendo announced, and I the timing of this is just it makes it almost worse to me. Like
it's a really bad consolation prize.
It is another new Nintendo 3DS, which again they just spent a month marketing and selling the new 2DS, which we thought was kind of like, this is going to be their final, this is what they're doing. They're done with 3D. They're going to just kind of do that to the end. And then like a week later, that Metroid 3DS was announced. And now this. And it's of course, Super Nintendo themed.
Yeah, which, is cool. It's cool, but
if I did get that, all I would be thinking is, every time I saw it, I didn't get an SNES.
Yeah,
SNES
right,
Classic.
Exactly. I would appreciate it if it was properly yellowed, like the old Super Nintendo.
Right.
But no, I mean, at this point, the 3DS family is, forgive me, but it's like the families that don't believe in birth control. It's just one child after another. They just keep coming. So, but it's not even on a 9-month window here. It's just like every month there's another one. But whatever. So it's cool. It's cool. So
it is what it is.
So next is something that I'm really excited about.
Nintendo
themed cars coming to Rocket League on Switch. And let me just say the last part of that sentence again, and it's something that everyone knows, but Rocket League on Switch.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I just can't wait. And the Nintendo themed cars, you can elaborate on those. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had heard that there was, well, first of all, obviously, Rocket League coming to Switch is fantastic. I think it's an awesome game. I played it when it first came out for PS4 through PlayStation Plus. It was given out, which was a brilliant move on their part. Just got so much visibility for the game. And it's been really successful. It's really cool that a game like that can gain the traction that it has. But yeah, when I heard about they were going to bring Nintendo-themed content to Rocket League, I was like, oh, cool. It'll be like a car and it'll have a Mario hat on it or something. But this actually looks cool. Some of these pictures, especially the Metroid theme one.
Yeah.
The Metroid theme, like the Metroid ship, I guess, car. It's just super slick, and it looks, the color scheme's great and very. I guess it's just a lot cooler than I thought it was going to be implemented.
Right. You hear that, and the first thought is, cool, neat. Neat.
Yeah, right.
Cool. But it's actually really neat.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that, and I mean, it's just.
Have you had a chance to play some Rocket League, or at least see enough of it?
Yeah, but it was probably 3 or 4 months after it launched. I played it at a LAN party once, and it's fantastic. It's such
great.
a good game, and I'm so glad that Switch is getting it because I'll be playing it a lot. But
Yeah,
I love
for
that
sure.
game.
I mean, it's tough when you, because like I said, I kind of got in on the ground level when it was first released, and so I had a fighting chance at least with some of these guys but some of the stuff that's on there now, some people are just nuts with that.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't play online. I'd play local,
Sure. Yeah.
But I do. I will say one of the things that immediately made me love that game is it reminded me very much of the. Did you ever play Excite Bike 64?
No, I didn't.
It had a soccer game where you as bikes were driving into this giant soccer ball. Yeah, and that was the first thing that popped in my mind when I saw that is how much Excite Bike 64 I used to play of just the soccer, and that was only on the Best Buy kiosk, but I played it a lot there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good for I think it's Psyonix that makes this game. Like, good on them for seeking this out, and obviously they went forward to make the deal with Nintendo. Obviously, they're making it cross-play with all the other platforms, or as many as we'll let them anyway. Right. So yeah, this is great news. This is exciting to see.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So the last news story we're going to focus on today is just something it's not so much news as just something I was made aware of this last week or two. It's a game called UFO 50. And I just wanted to kind of if for any of you listeners out there who haven't heard of this, definitely go on YouTube and check out the trailer for it. It looks really cool. Essentially, I think of it as kind of an homage to NES games of old. It's basically they're breaking off their team into lots of little teams, and they're making like 50 short little 8-bit games. All kind of, in the style of old NES games or arcade games or something. And, it looks like, what they say anyway, in their website, is that it's basically, it's longer than like a normal arcade game, but it's shorter than like a traditional NES game. So it's somewhere in the middle there, but they're all designed to have like, at least a little bit of a story. They're not just like straight up arcade things that you would go forever, and maybe a few of them are, but at least they're supposed to give variety. And I think, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think they're even bringing in some talent from other developers, just like, hey, so-and-so who made this popular game, why don't you conceive or at least pitch an idea for one of these 50 games.
That's cool. Yeah.
Or at least that would be cool. Or hey, maybe down the road, like DLC or something, here's Hideo Kojima's game, or here's
that'd be cool.
Just this put it out there to different developers. That'd be super cool. But yeah, it's all got kind of the old 8-bit aesthetic, and obviously they're very different in concept and some different art styles. But it just looks really cool. And so if you are a fan of old Nintendo games, I think this is definitely a game that you should keep on your radar.
Yeah, so long as it's not like Action 51, which was an NES multi-cart that came out in the early to mid 90s, had 51. I'm doing air quotes for our listeners. 51 games.
Right.
And I'm going to do quotes around 51 as well, because a lot of them were just like derivative of the same, like they're versions of the same game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all just awful. Yeah. And then the big game was Cheetah Men on it, where the Cheetah Men, I think it had a cartoon they were trying to launch along with it. It was going to be like the competition for the Turtles, Ninja Turtles, or Battletoads. And it's nigh unplayable. So
oh dear.
And it's but I assume it's going to be way better than Action 51. So all right.
That's good.
Great. Well, that's the news. Now on to what we've been playing. All right. What we've been playing. Brad, why don't you go first?
So I've had a chance to play quite a few things this week, but of course we must start off with the obligatory Breath of the Wild.
Yep, that's what I played.
Which so I played some Zelda. I continued to move down into explore the Gerudo region and in all the entirety of that. Still haven't actually gotten to the Divine Beast because I got, as of course I'm sure you understand, we got distracted by 8,000 other things.
The whole game is a nightmare for ADD people. It's just, right? Oh man.
And so I'm off trying to get some snow boots now, some sand boots is what I meant. And I haven't figured exactly how to do that yet, but I'm working on it and just having a blast. And I'll tell you more about in Tales from the Wild. There's another cool thing or two that I discovered in that region, but been playing plenty of Breath of the Wild. Still just adoring it. It's it just doesn't.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. You know?
It keeps giving, and I basically decided I am going to try, in the long run here, obviously, to get everything, including all 900 Korok seeds.
All right.
So my basic plan, I just hit 250 recently, and so I'm doing okay. And my goal is, because I still got forever to go. I still got all the Divine Beasts to get through and plenty of exploring stuff to do to get all the shrines and stuff. So I'm gonna try to find every shrine and every Korok seed that I possibly can by myself. Until I get to the point where I'm just like, I'm not finding anything for hours or whatever, and then I'll, boot up the shrine sensor, and eventually I'm gonna purchase the DLC and get the Korok mask and some of those other things.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, yep, it's part of the first DLC pack.
Oh, cool.
It's a Korok mask that whenever you're near one of the Korok seeds, it jingles or shakes or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, obviously, sooner or later, I'm going to have to purchase the DLC because there's going to be new story content in the fall.
Oh, man. Can't wait.
Well, assume they said the holiday.
Yeah, I thought it was holiday.
It might.
Yeah, closer to Christmas.
Might get pushed back, but you never know.
Yep.
So, yeah, I've been playing Breath of the Wild, and I, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I've been playing a lot of Sonic Mania. Oh, what a special game. It perfectly walks the line between nostalgia and updating it with some modern mechanics. And if you've played the old Sonic games, you will so much appreciate it. And really, I really don't want to spoil too much. Like, even one of the early on boss encounters is just a treat. It's really, I don't even want to spoil it. It's super cool because it just throws something that you wouldn't expect necessarily, but totally makes sense in the context of a Sega game like that. And so, basically the formula is it's a lot of worlds that you've seen before: Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone, old things that you'd remember from Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and places like that. And then the first act of it will play basically identically to what it was in the original game, with slight tweaks. Like, for instance, there's these things in the Green Hill Zone that they're basically like spinning logs, and they have spikes that kind of go along the side of them, and you can run along it, but only where the spike's on. It's rotating like a rotisserie kind of thing, And I happened to be walking along with those, but I had also equipped a fire shield, and I step onto this wooden plank, and it just burns away.
Oh, wow.
And it actually, it allowed me to find a secret, or at least, some rings down below.
That's cool.
And they're just little things like that. And then you get into usually the second act, or the second act of the zone, just plays with the whole design aesthetic, not the design, the layout of the environment a lot, and adds a bunch of new things. And
that's cool.
Like in the Chemical Plant Zone, there's the first zone is pretty much the same, and then the second act. Sorry, I'm mixing up all my words here. The second act.
Bandcamp week, everyone.
Yeah, Bandcamp. Yes, the second act will have you. It introduces these gels, or these like things that allow you to bounce along them to get up and to do wall jumping and stuff, or stick along a thing while you go over a pit of chemical stuff. It's just really really clever stuff, and I think and there's brand new worlds included in there too, things that weren't included in the original games, but some of them that are inspired by other levels. Like for instance, I think it's early on in the game, Studiopolis, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
It's totally inspired by both the casino level from Sonic 2.
I love that level.
As well as a level from Sonic CD, I believe is where that other inspiration comes from. So kind of mixing and matching, but taking only the good stuff and just leaving out most of the stuff that we don't like to remember from from those other games. So it's just really clever, and it's really like it's like, it seems to me that this has been made by people who grew up kind of like us, maybe growing up with all these Sonic games and then seeing this deluge of just bad Sonic games, and just people who lamented the old, losing the old style and the old quality, and they're like, please just let us do this,
right?
And I think in some cases, in fact, I think Christian Whitehead is the name that comes to mind as one of the contributors. I believe he has worked on like fan projects or something, and then eventually made his own studio or something. Should have done my research on that, but but Bandcamp, right?
Right.
So that can be our excuse for anything.
Yeah,
we're totally unprofessional, but Bandcamp.
Yep. From now on, that is my excuse.
There you go. Yeah. So it's a fantastic welcome back for Sonic fans, and somebody posted a thing on Facebook on one of the Facebook pages I visit, a Nintendo page, and it was just this interesting. It was like, when you realize that Sonic Mania, a Sonic game, is getting higher reviews than the latest Uncharted game, which just came out this week too.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, Uncharted's fantastic games.
Right. Right.
They were saying that it was getting a little bit, not bad, but just maybe less innovative for this sequel.
Okay.
And so it got a little bit lower scores. It's still good. It's still a great game, but Sonic Mania is getting all kinds of high scores, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So,
the opposite of Emoji Movie. Yeah.
Right. So play the bottom line is play Sonic Mania. It's fantastic, especially if you were an old school Sonic fan back in the day. You will not regret it. It's very, very cool. So that's what I've been playing. Oh, and I continue to play. I think I mentioned this the first episode. Still plucking away at the Phoenix Wright games. The Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. I love the wit and the character and the personality that those games have. And now they're combined into one, and they're just good stories. They're visual novel type things, or adventure games. And so that's kind of their focus, I guess, besides puzzles and. But just especially the Phoenix Wright part of the game, it just doesn't really get old for me, and it's super fun. And I also just FYI, right now, I think for the next couple of days, maybe through the end of the week, is a sale on Capcom games on the Nintendo eShop across 3DS and Wii U. So if you, like me, have been eyeing that newest Phoenix Wright game, Spirit of Justice. You can pick that up for $20 instead of $30.
Nice.
Or you can pick up the Phoenix Wright trilogy for $15 instead of $30. And there's several other Capcom games that are on sale this week, but you can check that out if you're interested. So
that's awesome.
So that's what I've been playing. Mark, what have you been playing?
Well, Breath of the Wild, obviously.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Scene.
Right.
No, I got another Divine Beast out of the way. I got Varudanya done, and
okay. Which one's that?
That's up on Death Mountain.
Okay.
And the music there is so cool because it's a very minimal approach to the level 9 music from the original Zelda in the whole mountain area. It's so good. Which level 9 in the original Zelda was Spectacle Rock, which was Death Mountain area. So,
yeah.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's really cool to hear that music. It's just this little subtle piano going on every once in a while.
Are you still eating applesauce?
I did make applesauce one more time to get there, and actually, that's I was prepared to, and then I discovered a way to make fireproof elixirs. So I have like 4 of those now. But I wound up buying the big bulky fireproof armor, which looks.
If you're wondering what the reference is, dear listener, check out episode 1 or episode 3001.
Yes, 3001.
The podcast.
Yes, episode 1 was decades ago.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But so I did that. Wound up getting the fireproof armor, which is hilarious looking. It's really funny looking, and found actually I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But I wound up also I've got a number of more Korok seeds in that game, and a number of more shrines. I think I'm 1 heart away from getting the Master Sword.
Nice.
But yeah, the game is just so good, and everybody who's played it knows it. And if you haven't played it, you need to. If you don't own a Switch, it's a reason to buy a Switch or a Wii U. Even if you're only going to get Breath of the Wild, it's worth it.
Switch.
Yeah, agreed.
Seriously.
But it's worth it just to get that one game. It's that
For sure.
good. It's
It is probably the best launch game for a console ever. I mean, granted, that's up against some pretty heavy hitters with Mario 64 and Super Mario World, and
Mario World's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. But man, you couldn't ask for much better. And just this year in general, I mean, in general for video games, many are saying it's one of the best, if not the best year for video games in general. But for Nintendo fans, my goodness, starting off with Zelda, ending with Mario, which we're getting a new Mario game, like a 3D awesome Mario game in just a couple of months.
I don't know how I'm gonna fit time in for it all, but
seriously,
I guess I'll just have to forget about sleeping. But
you have kids, you don't care about that anyway, right?
That's right. Well, I need at least a little bit. I don't know. Maybe there's some magical drug out there that means I don't have to sleep. I don't know. I'll talk to my doctor. But I think that's cocaine.
Side effects may include, yeah.
No, but one other thing I did that I'm really excited to have done in Breath of the Wild was I built Terrytown, and if you haven't done that yet, it's. I
think I've been there.
It's well, no, you haven't if you don't know what
Okay.
Because this slight spoiler, not really a spoiler, but you build it. It's a side quest, and so it's really cool. That whole storyline is just fun to do. So it required a lot of rupees to do that.
Okay.
But, I made more meat skewers from our last episode. I talked about that, and there's a Gerudo lady in the Goron city that will buy gems from you for a slightly elevated price. So, yeah. Anyways, lots of Breath of the Wild, and then one other thing I've been playing has been a lot of. This is not Nintendo related, but a lot of tabletop games. Last weekend I went to Gen Con in Indianapolis, which is it's a tabletop gaming convention in downtown Indianapolis, and there's 70,000 people there playing tabletop games. So I did that for a weekend.
Wow.
And I love playing tabletop games. Yeah, it was fun. They actually had a couple of Nintendo licensed games there that I almost got suckered into buying, but I think they might just be like other games with like a slapping the Nintendo like Mario skin on it, and it's I don't know if they were any good, but I'll do some more research on it. If they're great, if they're even good, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, so it was fun.
Cool.
Did a lot of tabletop gaming. So, but yeah, why don't we segue into our Tales from the Wild section, which is our spoiler-free stories from playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. So, why don't you go first?
Cool. Yeah. So my moments this time, as I mentioned, I've been kind of going through Gerudo Desert, and just exploring the town and the extremities of it, and finding all the cool stuff that they have in there. But obviously when you're in, and I'll say this, what I'm gonna tell you, it was super cool to me. It might not be super exciting for you, but it just blew my mind that this would all kind of work together. Obviously, when you're in the hotter temperatures of the desert, right, you have to you have to either wear the right clothes, or you have to, like, I was, I had to make sure that I was wearing. I used an ice sword, and I just kept it on my back, and it kind of kept me cool throughout.
That's actually really cool to think about. But
yeah, I know. And so that I was there for probably, I don't know, I was messing around doing some things for quite a while, and just kind of going along, and then all of a sudden, I was just kind of going about my business, and all of a sudden Link starts like panting and is getting all hot again. And I'm like, what's going on here? You were doing fine, I didn't take my sword off or anything, didn't do anything wrong. What's the deal here? And I realized that it had gone from night to morning.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden it was hotter, and I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Yep. But then the next part of that was that I kind of looked around and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll have to I'll have to drink an elixir or something. But then I noticed that nearby, I was standing near sort of this tall rock formation, whatever, which happened to cast a shadow. And so I walked over and stood underneath the shadow, and boom, I was fine.
That's awesome.
It was just, it's again, another example of just stuff just works in Zelda.
Yep.
It really, I was like, man, that's so cool that they incorporated that. Just walking
such a simple,
few inches into,
cool little touch that they added. Yeah.
For sure. So I was really impressed by that, and again, just all those little details, they add up so much. Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
Yeah, and for me, mine is another thing that some people out there might be like, yeah, duh, but whatever. It's my cool story that I like, and it's that I was trying to take out Lionels and tougher enemies. Ugh. And it was really hard. I was having to consume food that would give me like plus 24 hearts, and even then it was tough, and I'd have like plus 3 swords for attacking with different buffs and whatnot, and they're just tough. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I've found 3 of the fairy fountains. I should probably upgrade some armor. And it's amazing that it makes you live longer.
What do you know?
The soldier armor in particular is like really inexpensive to get right off the bat, but it's not that great. And then you upgrade it, and you upgrade it a couple times, and suddenly it's really good armor. Like, I'm much more durable now, and it's again, duh, but upgraded armor makes you live longer. So, yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Now I'm a Lionel hunter. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So
I still haven't been brave enough to take one of those on yet. I know it's a sad thing.
I'll just get some like either
get some upgrades.
Yeah, do some buffs with either an attack upgrade or a defense upgrade, and you'll be fine.
All right.
It's fun. All right. So, on to our next section, which is a soundtrack review.
Woo!
All right. Our soundtrack review for this week is an old Famicom game. It was never released in the States. I've played it via emulators, but I would love to get my hands on the original cartridge for this. And that is Transformers Mystery of Convoy. Convoy.
I had no idea this game existed.
Convoy is Optimus Prime. The quick backstory about the game is that it was released in the interim for Japan. They got the cartoon. They saw suddenly Optimus Prime was dead after the second season. Third season he's no longer around, and they're wondering where he is. This game was meant to fill in bridge that gap, which in the movie was only released in the West, and so we got to see that Optimus Prime died in the movie. But
spoilers.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you guys had like 31 years figured out.
Can we just take a minute to tell the listeners how ridiculous of a Transformers fan you are?
Oh yeah, Yeah. If I could.
Can't you quote the movie line by line?
Oh, I could do the entire movie, every line. Not Bayformers, but Transformers. So,
Okay.
I mean, I love Optimus Prime. I love Transformers. But yeah. So, Mystery of Convoy was a game that was made for the Japanese audience to bridge that gap of why is Optimus Prime dead? Well, he died. But or where is he? I guess was the mystery.
Right.
So it's a poorly designed game. It's really bad, and like the bullets are the same color as the background, so like
fun.
you can't see them when they like go over a mountain in the background, and so you just die randomly.
Right.
But the soundtrack review, that's why we're talking about this, is because it has this. It has the more than meets the eye, bum 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 at the beginning of it's like the screen where it says like stage 1, how many lives you have, and you get to hear that. It's like, oh, cool, Transformers, and then it goes into this little like happy ditty, boom bum 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 ba da da dum, bum bum ba da da dum ba dum, bum bum ba da da dum, bum bum, and it does that over and over and over and over.
That's it?
It's a 10-second loop. It's literally 10 seconds. I sang you the entire soundtrack.
Okay.
That's it. And it's like this happy little ditty that just keeps going and going. And it's what's maybe more infuriating about it, other than my really terrible singing right there, but I was trying to sing. I'm pretty sure those were the right notes to start on. But is that it's really happy music, and it's an infuriating game to play, which makes it even more infuriating to hear this music. But I guess they only thought it needed to be a 10-second loop of music because you die.
What you want to play?
You die so often, you're never going to hear all 10 seconds of it. So
I see.
So if you do get good at the game, you're going to hear this 10-second loop of music thousands of times, and that's thousands of times too many. So I guess maybe this is like both a soundtrack and a retro game review, because it's a terrible soundtrack and a terrible game, and it's unfortunate that Bayformers isn't the only thing that sullies the name of the Transformers, but Transformers Mystery of Convoy does. So this soundtrack / retro game review gets a Nintendo Director's rating of -40 matrices of leadership. Would that be matrices of leadership? Whatever. Out of 45,000 Unicron heads. Like,
wow.
There you go. It's just
that's scathing.
It's
man.
awful. So if you ever decide that you did something bad and you need to be punished, play some Transformers Mystery of Convoy.
Okay, so let's try to be a little bit objective here. If you were to hear just that 10-second loop and you'd never heard it before, and you didn't hear it 40,000 times in a row, is it a catchy tune? Is it enjoyable to listen to?
You might think it was like a B-side of a Kirby game. Not even that.
Okay.
No, a B-side to Bubble Bobble.
Okay.
Which
a B-side to Bubble Bobble. Interesting.
It's catchy the first one time you hear it. On the first 10-second loop, you're like, okay, and then it loops, and you go, wait, that's it? That's it. Okay, wow.
Okay, got it.
The only game that I can think of that might have a shorter loop that is widely known would be Burger Time. Has a really short loop as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, anyways, so that's that's the soundtrack / retro game.
So essentially, we're really hot on this game.
Yes.
We very much.
Yes, you guys all need to play it. So, all right.
Just thinking that.
Well, moving on, let's get to this week's quiz. And before we do that, we're going to talk about last week's winner. The winner of last week's quiz was Jesse Waldeck. And
Jesse.
Yeah, and the answer to the question of who was the person and what game was the line from, where somebody said, "You spoony bard," which is a really great thing to tell a musician, was Tella from Final Fantasy IV / Final Fantasy II, whatever iteration of it you played. And yes, so that was the winner of last week's quiz. Jesse, you have 1 point, the only point we've given out, and you are in the lead.
So you are first, second, and last.
Yes. And
congratulations.
When I win
it's like the French horn player in my band that's wants to be 7th chair and then 10th chair one day, and then sorry, you got to play the solo.
Yep,
today,
your first chair this day. Yes.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that you get 1 point, and when we decide to hand out the prize for this, whenever that is, might never happen, but when we declare a winner of our weekly quizzes, which
essentially when we get enough points to win, right?
Yeah, basically.
Get that.
I just bought a Powerball ticket tonight, so I'm gonna have $700 million. So Jesse, you'll get at least a couple bucks. So yeah. So, all right. So that's the winner of last week's quiz. This week's quiz is a really simple one. Try not to use Google, our sponsor of this week's episode, but whatever.
Wait. How's that work? Maybe use Google, but don't look at the right. Yeah. Okay.
They're never going to sponsor us again. Now I totally messed that up.
Darn it.
All right. Sorry, Google. Apologies. But try. All right. Here we go.
Wait, can I tell you a quick story about that?
Go ahead.
It reminds me. Well, maybe you were there when. Okay. ABC. Mark and I both went to the American Band College to get our master's degree, and we had this one concert with a guest performer, Harry Waters, phenomenal trombone player, and I remember something break on his instrument.
No, you're thinking of Boston Brass. Yeah, the trombone player from the Boston Brass.
Yeah.
His trombone broke middle of the performance. He lost
concert.
his trigger on his trombone, and he just started dancing up there to bide the time during his solo. And at the end, he said, "I just want to remind everyone that we are sponsored by Jupiter." And the
Jupiter Instruments is a company, yeah.
And the rep from Jupiter was in the audience. Yeah, that was awesome.
Not the best choice.
No.
Not the best choice.
And I actually owned a Jupiter tuba, and it was great. So nothing.
Okay.
But okay. So anyway.
Sorry.
So use Google for everything other than this. Here we go. The composer. We're looking for the composer. We're the Nintendo directors, band directors. Mm-hmm. Name the composer of the NES game Solstice, and give us one other game that this composer wrote the music to. So that is this week's quiz. The composer.
Can I confess something to you, Mark?
What's that?
Can I confess something?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think I've ever heard of Solstice.
Oh man, it's a great isometric, like 2.5D NES game, and it takes a second to orient yourself. Like, what does up mean when I'm looking at everything that's laid out diagonally? Kind of like, I don't know if did you ever play Snake, Rattle, and Roll, or?
No. Is it similar?
The Immortal was another one on the NES.
So you're saying it's not like Link to the Past that
no,
3/4 the way down?
No, it's like shifted on an angle, so it looks pseudo 3D. But so like pressing up, does that make me go up on a diagonal to the right or up to the left? So it takes a second, but once you get it, it's a really good game and really good music. So anyways, check that out, and first person to get that right, just comment on our Facebook post when we post this, and you'll get a point. And we're keeping track. So
great.
Yeah. I
think that's our show, Mark.
I think that's our show as well. Yeah.
Wow.
So
we did it.
Yeah, we did. We did it.
We did it.
So
hey, we want to thank everyone so much for listening. Once again, we want to remind you that we are now for real up on iTunes and Google, and hopefully on Stitcher very soon. Maybe we'll figure out a way to get on like SoundCloud or some of those other places you might be able to find podcasts. So if you like what you hear, or even if you don't, we appreciate if you'd go on iTunes or Google Play or wherever your favorite podcasting place is, or all of them. It's up to you. Leave us a review. Give us some feedback, positive or constructive. We'd appreciate that. And again, it also helps get more visibility for the show. So you can do that. And then if you are someone who likes to consume your media basically on YouTube, we've gotten in the habit now of every week after. Usually it takes another couple of hours for me to get it rendered and everything, but we put up a YouTube video of the show where it's basically just a picture of our album art, and then you can listen to it through that. if you like to do it that way. You can follow us on Twitter at @N_directors. That, by the way, is slightly different. If you were following us before, we decided to change the handle. I really just wanted to make it Nintendo Directors, but I was like 2 or 3 characters short of what they would allow. And so I think we had like N Directors 2 or something weird like that, or Nintendo Direct 2 or something. But now we just kind of hopefully made it a little more understandable.
Yep.
N_directors. You can send your feedback, comments, and questions, concerns, whatever. You can be part of the show. You can ask questions at nintendodirectorspodcast@gmail.com. And of course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is a show that records every other week, and so we post every other week on Thursday at 9 a.m. So I guess that makes when is our next show going to be? It's sometime in September. Dang.
Yeah. After Labor Day.
So yeah, September 7th, I believe.
Yep.
Great. Any other thoughts for the good of the cause, Mark?
Yeah. Just remember, if you do anything wrong in the next couple weeks, or if you have kids, let them play Transformers: Mystery of Convoy as punishment. So.
There you go. Yeah, if your kids screw up, yeah.
Yep. All right, well,
right.
It's late, but I'm still probably gonna go play some Breath of the Wild, and
there you go.
because why else? What else would I do? All right, so that's episode 3003, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.